You can't tell me that that doesn't look so similar. That's beautiful. I was a Wattpad reader. I can get back into that mindset. Oh no, this is gonna break my heart, I can tell. These are the 25 books that I want to make sure I read during this year. And we're doing it a little bit differently than we did last year. Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Sarah. Today we are going to be talking about my 2025 TBR. 25 books that I want to read in 2025. I am still going to be doing my monthly TBRs throughout the year of 2025. These are the 25 books that I want to make sure I read during this year, and we're doing it a little bit differently than we did last year. Last year, as we saw, I did not do well with my 2024 TBR. I think I maybe read like 4 of those books. Maybe. It was a very ambitious one. It was ones of books that I didn't already have, and honestly there were a lot of new releases that I didn't really know about. I did it a little differently this year. I recently have posted my bookshelf tour in this Bookmas. We got new bookshelves. I was actually surprised because with all my books I filled up one entire bookshelf. I didn't know that I had that many books. We are going to be focusing on my physical TBR. Books that I already have that I want to get through in 2025, that I want to make sure I get to in 2025. That is sort of the mind space that I created this list from. There are some new releases on here. Actually, the first one is a very anticipated new release, but a lot of them are already on my TBR. Our first one, very anticipated, of course, Onyx Storm. It is coming out January 21st. I have it on pre-order. I have been seeing that notification of it being pre-ordered since it went on sale. I think back in like August or something. It has been on there. I ordered it. That is coming out in our first month, so I figured that would be the perfect book to start off our 2025 TBR. If you don't know, I am absolutely obsessed with the Fourth Wing universe, the Empyrean series. The way they ended Iron Flame, I just need to see how they're going to start Onyx Storm and what that's going to be about, because I feel like there's so many directions that Rebecca Yarros can go with it, and I really want to know which way she's going to go. I just love that entire story. I love the dragons. I love Fourth Wing. I love our characters. I love Xaden, and I need to see what's going to happen. The second book is the first book in the series. So basically I want to read this entire series next year, and it was also on my 2024 TBR, but we're gonna do it this year because you know what? I finally finished the trilogy that I had to finish before getting to this trilogy, and that is Once Upon a Broken Heart. I finally finished the Caraval trilogy. And I actually just read the Christmas novella that's in my Christmas books Bookmas video if you want to go check that one out if you haven't seen that one already. This is within the same universe, and apparently it has major spoilers for Caraval. I really enjoyed the Caraval series, so I wanted to fully get through and enjoy and experience Caraval before moving into Once Upon a Broken Heart, but now that I have, I am ready to add this series on my series list. It is a completed trilogy. I think the third book just came out earlier in like the spring or the summertime, and I know that I love Stephanie Garber's writing from the Caraval trilogy, so I know that I'm absolutely going to adore her writing in this book as well. Powerless by Lauren Roberts might have been on my 2024 TBR as well, but I never got to it. A very, very popular series about Peyton and Kai that became popular this year. I have Reckless, and I also have Powerful, the novella, and I just want to see the hype around this book because I love fantasy. Fantasy is my comfort genre. If you don't know, it's the first genre that got me into reading. It is still the genre that I do love the most. People have compared it to Fourth Wing, or even said that it's better than Fourth Wing, which is just inconceivable to me. I need to see what this is about. Kai, our male main character, spends his whole life hunting people like Peyton. She has been pretending to be a royal for her whole life. They collide, and you know, the story evolves from there. After Onyx Storm, I feel like I need to give Onyx Storm its moment, but after Onyx Storm, I'm gonna read Powerless. Staying on this shelf, this is like my shelf of honor up here. The Throne of the Fallen by Kerri Maniscalco. This is a book that's within the Kingdom of the Wicked trilogy, which I absolutely loved. Specifically the third book, I'm obsessed with. It's one of my favorite books of all time. Instead of being about Prince Wrath, it is about Prince Envy. And basically the way this world works is there are 7 rulers of hell. They're all the 7 deadly sins. They run their kingdoms by whatever sin they are named after. So Envy runs his kingdom, and it gets power based on people's envy. So it's Envy's story, it's Envy's romance, and there's also a game in it. That is why there's this little key in the middle, and I just loved Carrie Maniscalco's storytelling in Kingdom of the Wicked. I feel like the first book I was iffy on, but the second and especially the third book, I was so amazed how she tied so many things together into a neat little bow, and all these like loose ends that you thought were just irrelevant all became so relevant in the third book. We have, this is the special edition. I haven't opened it yet because I want to save it for when I read it. There are like pictures on the inside, embossings on the cover, and I am very excited to see what this book is about. I am anticipating that I'm going to love this fantasy trilogy. It's another romantasy trilogy. If you don't know Alex Astor, she actually started by posting like chapters on TikTok, I believe, and then people were so obsessed with it they were like waiting for the next chapter that she finally decided to publish it. I love a high stakes fantasy, and I've heard so much about this book, so this is definitely a book that I want to read in 2025. Every 100 years, Island of Lightlark hosts a centennial, which is basically, I think, like a Hunger Games type competition where all the rulers of all the kingdoms battle and fight, and whoever wins can save her kingdom or something. And our main character is Isla Crown, and it says, to survive, Isla Crown must lie, cheat, and betray, even as love complicates everything. I have been seeing this book literally everywhere. It got too late in 2024 where I didn't want to start any more series, but this was definitely on the top of my list. A lot of fantasies, as you can see, that I am looking forward to in 2025. A different genre that I've never read before, and that is the time travel romance genre. And the book that I chose to get into this genre is The Ministry of Time. I've also heard that it is very heartwarming and touching and deeper than just a regular romance. I feel like I really want to dig into deeper romances this year that are not just like fluffy fun romances, because they definitely have their time and place. But I love a romance like Emily Henry's where the character is also dealing with something personally and it becomes more of like a women's fiction book. And I feel like this one has the reputation of being a little bit more serious of a romance. It's in the future, and our main character is considered a bridge. Her job is to assist and monitor people that they bring back from the past. See how they do in our current times. And our male main character is Commander Graham Gore, who is from 1847. Him sort of getting used to the 21st century. Very intriguing topic. Very excited to get into that book. We have another fantasy, which actually I chose because the cover reminds me of Kingdom of the Wicked, and like I said, that is one of my favorite trilogies ever. If you look at the Kingdom of the Wicked cover and then the Phantasma the Phantasma cover, don't they look so similar? So when I saw that, I was actually very surprised that this was not another book of this. But it isn't. It's a whole new world, a whole new author. The Phantasma game has two rules: stay alive and don't fall in love. Our main character is Ophelia, and she needs to save her sister, and to do that she needs to win this game, which is again very much like the Kingdom of the Wicked. So I feel like because that summary sounds so similar but different to Kingdom of the Wicked, this is going to be right up my alley, and I want to try this one out because who knows, maybe it's another series that I'll become obsessed with. The second book I think is actually just came out or is going to come out very soon. You can't tell me that that doesn't look so similar. If it has the same vibes of Kingdom of the Wicked, then I will like it a lot. So, Phantasma is going on our 2025 TBR. So another one of my goals, I want to read more classics. Wuthering Heights, The Great Gatsby, Lord of the Rings. I have recently found these really beautiful editions of classics. So the one on my list for my classic is Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte. So this is a special edition. It has gold sprayed edges and it has some pictures on the inside. Also, this quote on the back, "He's more myself than I am. Whatever our souls are made of, his and mine are the same." That's beautiful. Next, we have another fantasy. You can probably tell a lot of these are fantasies because, like I said, I've just collected so many over this year that I want to read desperately but never got around to. So this is Curious Tides. I talked about this book a lot in other videos. Basically, it is a fantasy. Stranger Skies just came out, the sequel. The magic system revolves around the moon phase in which you were born in. Whatever moon phase you're born under is the like power you have. She is a student at Aldrin College for Lunar Magics. She is the only survivor of a treacherous night. Now she has impossible powers that no healer that she is should possess. It just seems like such a cool magic system. I love a dark academia setting within a fantasy. Like, again, like I think I said this before, if you had my perfect genre, it would be fantasy, dark academia. Like, I really got into dark academia this past year, and I've always been into fantasy, and I've read a few that were like that, and they've just all been good. I eat them up every single time. Another very popular book that I never got around to reading, The Serpents and the Wings of Night. I have had this series on my shelf for so long. People, again, have compared this to Fourth Wing. And I don't know if books started becoming popular, like The Serpent and the Wings of Night and Powerless, when Fourth Wing was really popular. So people were just using that as a way to influence people to read these other fantasy books that they really like, or if it really is truly as good as Fourth Wing. And I need to find out about humans and vampires. The adopted human daughter of the night-born vampire king, areeee, is our female main character. Rain, he's a vampire, and they meet during a legendary tournament held by the goddess of death herself, which is called Kajari. It is another, you know, competition type thing. Reminds me a little bit of Akatar, which I loved so much. Ah! Look at the hardcover! Wow! I didn't even know that the hardcover had this. Does the other one have it? This one just came out. It's a hardcover too. Is it also beautiful? Ha! Wait, now I want to get all the hardcovers. This is why I end up with so many different editions of books. Belladonna! You can see that there's a trend here where these were all super popular fantasy books in 2024 that I never got around to, but I want to read them and catch up and get what all the hype is about. I feel like I'm being left behind. And fantasy is my genre. Like, I love it so much. I'm claiming it as my favorite genre. So I feel like all these fantasy books that have become so popular this year, because fantasy became so popular this year in the mainstream, I'm like, oh my god, I need to read them. I need to read them. Immediate add to my list. Immediate add to my TBR. And then again, there's just so many that I could only read so many during this year. So a lot of these are the books that I really want to read this year but never got around to that are fantasy. A romantasy between death, like actual death, capital D, and our female main character, Signa. I believe her story is that she finds out her mother gets murdered, and then she goes on this quest to find out who did it because she's getting hints from her ghost mother. I think that's really what it is. That's how she meets death, because I guess she's asking him all these questions. She's trying to solve this mystery of who killed her mother. Some of the quotes in here have become viral. Like, I know that the nickname that he has for her is Little Bird. That is how much this has become a viral book this past year. How do I know that? It's because it's been all over TikTok. Next. Oh my gosh. Didn't I start this year saying that I will be reading Throne of Glass? Yeah, I never read it. The Assassin's Blade, the novella book, I decided is going to be my first book of the Throne of Glass series, and I'm going to read the Throne of Glass series in 2025. I'll do it. I'm going to do it. I need to promise myself I'm going to do it. I'm putting this on my 2025 TBR. I'm going to start the Assassin's Blade within the first 2 months of 2025 so that I get sucked in and that I need to read it. I need to know why this is so popular. I'm not even going to really describe to you what Throne of Glass is about because I'm sure you've heard it so many times, and I feel like I'm not going to even do it justice because I have been purposely avoiding a bunch of spoilers. The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. Again, this is practically a classic. It's an OG booktok book, and it is a retelling of the Greek story of Achilles and I think Helen of Troy? Yes. I did really like learning about Greek mythology in school, and I feel like I am really gonna love this retelling of it. All I know about Achilles really is that he was like a son of a god, was dipped by his heel in like this like magic water that made all of his body basically invincible besides that one heel. So that's where the term Achilles heel comes from. That's what I know about Achilles. The only Emily Henry book that I have left on my TBR until her new one comes out. Book lovers! Happy Place is one of my favorite books of all time, and Funny Story has become one of my favorite books. Just love Emily Henry's writing. I love how she can tell a romance where the characters come to life, the romance comes to life, and I genuinely care about the characters as individually, but also together, and then their main character is always sort of dealing with something else that has nothing to do with the romance. I love that Emily Henry does that. It's like a little bit of a woman's fiction book into a romance. We have the recent series from an author who I read all of her backlist. That is Love Redesigned by Lauren Asher. This is the first book in the Lakefront Billionaire series. It's this book and then it's Love Unwritten. It's about Julian and Dahlia and it takes place on Lake Wisteria. Enemies to lovers, contemporary romance. Lauren Asher's books I feel like are so easy to read. I wouldn't say they're like the best literature writing, if you know what I mean, but they are always relatively interesting characters with very like cute little moments that happen. I have heard that this book is way too long for what it is. Our 16th book is... Okay, so the first book is the Boys of Tonnage series. It is so famous, I feel like I don't even need to describe to you what it is. I have all of the books waiting for me. It is some people's absolute favorite romance books, but again, it is so long. The words are so small on the page. Some people are absolutely obsessed with this world, as I am obsessed with Fourth Wing in the romance, and like they're obsessed with this romance world. And I have not, besides Magnolia Parks, there has not been a romance series that I am absolutely, undoubtedly, undeniably obsessed with. I am very interested to see if this is the one. I have heard, again, the writing isn't like literature. Some of it's Wattpad-esque. I was a Wattpad reader. I can get back into that mindset. I actually started this book. As you can see, I got to page 56 and then I stopped because other books just like took precedence over it. I think a lot of these really big series I haven't read, although they've been on my TBR for so long, because they're intimidating. But I want to know Johnny and Shannon's story. It takes place, I believe, in Scotland or Ireland. The setup is Shannon is a very frail, very small, very weak girl. Johnny is the captain of the rugby team, and it's very like, I'm gonna protect you type romance, which has its time and place. I can get into that. A book that a lot of people are obsessed with and love, but I never read, even though I love this author. The Love Hypothesis. Like, how have I never read this book? I feel like this is the book that blew up Ali Hazelwood, and I did read Ride by her, I read Check and Mate by her, and I do really like her writing. I just don't know why I haven't read this one, the most famous one. She writes a lot of women in STEM. It's actually a graduate student professor romance, I believe. If people are so obsessed with a standalone romance book, I need to read it. A lot of these books are like books that I've chosen to introduce me to a genre I've never read before. Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies, because I want to get into the cozy fantasy world. I always read like very high stakes type fantasies, and I never really read like a cozy fantasy. You're following this girl, Emily, traveling with her rival, Wendell Brambleby, who this romance is between, and they're basically just traveling around learning about fairies. Also have the second book here. I want to get into the cozy fantasy series, the cozy fantasy genre. We're kind of getting into more books that I don't have on my physical TBR. There's only a few here, but we are getting into them. Done and Dusted. This is by Leva Sage. It is the first book in the... I don't know what the series is called. The cover art is always like comic book-esque, and I feel like that's so fun, or like sketchbook-esque. People have compared this series to Chestnut Springs. I will be finishing Chestnut Springs this month with Hopeless, so I need another cowboy romance series, and this one is apparently a really good one, so I want to read that series. Another new author that kind of blew up for her romances, but I didn't get a chance to read, that is Summer Romance by Annabelle Monaghan. This is about a woman, Allie, who is in her 30s, I think. She is a mom, and her mother died 2 years ago, her husband left, and she has sort of lost the will to carry on in the least dramatic way possible. This is about her putting herself out there again. And I've also heard that even though this is a romance, it is also very women's fiction-y, which, like I was saying with Emily Henry, I really love that genre. And people have said that Annabelle Monaghan does it very well. So I want to see what it's about. Where women's fiction-y in the sense of the main story is not just the romance. There is a lot more behind our main character. I actually do have this book, but it's way over there, so I'm not going to get it. I think it's called 101 Essays to Change Your Life. The non-fiction book, because I want to put at least one non-fiction book on my 2025 TBR, because as you can see, I don't typically read non-fiction books, but I have heard that this one is very, very good. There are some non-fiction books that I really have loved. I think it's also a book that it's good to have, because once you read the essays, you can go back to them during certain periods of your life where you can use that advice. Another nonfiction book by Dolly Alderton, Everything I Know About Love. This is a nonfiction book of our author going through her life where she's discussing all her different romances, but it turns out all along it was about her female friendships that have gotten her through all these wild romances. That's just a beautiful sentiment of, you know, boyfriends will come and go, but your female friends are the ones who will be there and get you through for all those different boyfriends and seasons of your life. Funny little anecdotes in it, and my cousin actually read this and she said it was good. 2 nonfiction books and 1 classic. I'm doing pretty good. Heartstopper. This is another book that I want to get into that genre because it is a graphic novel. I've never read a graphic novel before, but I heard this is a really, really good starter one. It's also just a really good one in general. It became a Netflix series, I believe, and I really want to watch the Netflix series. And I know that if I just pick this up, I could read this within like an hour. There are people on this app that are obsessed with this story. It's about Nick and Charlie, romance between these 2 high schoolers. Flipping through the pages, it does look very cute. Nick is the famous football player, and Charlie is our famous rugby player. And Charlie is shy and soft-hearted. A warm and intimate friendship follows, and that soon develops into something more. Oh no! This is gonna break my heart, I can tell. Another series I want to get into, Addicted to You by Krista and Becca Ritchie. Again, some people are obsessed with this series. It's a massive series. People feel about this series and this characters the way I feel about Magnolia Parks, and I would die for that series. In the least dramatic way possible. I wouldn't, but I love it. They are my friends, and I love them. Some people feel that way about our found family in this one, and this first book introduces us to our found family. It is about Lily and Lo. Lily is addicted to sex, and Lo is addicted to alcohol. They are family friends, and they start dating to make their parents think that they're like helping each other get over their own addictions, but you know, it gets more complicated than that, of course, when they catch feelings. The last book on our 2025 TBR. Ta-da! Harry Potter. This is my Harry Potter shelf. If you guys didn't know, I'm gonna put the glass doors on it. It is quite literally all of my Harry Potter books and all of my Harry Potter memorabilia down there, and my other like hobby things. Even have a Harry Potter Lego set all the way down there. I don't love J.K. Rowling. I don't agree with her and her things that she's been posting about on the internet. I believe that I can love a world and just not acknowledge that that author created it. I have read this series, obviously, in the past. I want to reread this series. I think I read the 7th, 3rd, and 6th book maybe 2 or 3 times throughout my life, but I've never read the whole series altogether again, and I want to do it because I feel like it's time. I watch the movies every single year. I want to get back into and read the story. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different editions of the series. That concludes my 2025 TBR. I am so excited to read all of these books. Know that I'm going to find some lifelong favorites in these, and I cannot wait to get into it. I think that this is a more realistic TBR for me. The TBR that I made for this year was not so realistic in the sense that there were a lot of books that I didn't know that much about, but I just saw once or what they won an award or something, and I put them on my list, but they weren't books that I wasn't really thinking of like my interests in when I was picking some of those books. I'm going to figure out that reason, and my cats. That is gonna be it from me today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!